primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Grex Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your whole news service providing in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from around the galaxy. Now for your news segment rundown for August 20th, 2022. Reading Raftar. This week, the Core World News team reviews Star Wars stories of Jedi and Sith. But first, this news.
All right, thank you very, very much, Grex. Welcome everyone to another week of Core World News. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight? We doing okay? We got
fantastic.
Grant's got the Vader background. Adam's in the bar on the Halcyon.
Yep,
looking good.
Slightly more comfortable. Adam's background looks slightly more comfortable than mine.
It looks so swanky. You got the bartender just slinging, Jawa juice back there. It looks pretty amazing. I'm actually in Vader's castle. It's all right. Yeah, it's a little
moving.
It's a little bleak. Yeah, it's like it's really kind of tough.
It's brutalism as we're.
Yeah, I don't know. Brutalism makes me happy. Is that weird? Anywho, this week we did get one little nugget of news that popped out that I thought was exciting. There was a novel announcement that is in the same world as that's a follow-up to the video game Jedi Fallen Order. So it happens after the story that takes place in that video game. It was just announced, I think today, Del Rey. It's called Battle Scars, and it's written by Sam Mags. So Sam Mags, full name. And it's that's it. Order 66 Survivor. Cal Kestis leads the Mantis crew on an adventure set between Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and the highly anticipated Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And it's the date is March 7th, 2023. And then there's also an it's a behind the scenes book with some art that's slated for May, also was announced at the same time. So I think we've got a time frame for when we might get the actual video game Jedi Survivor.
Ben, I hadn't heard about that second book. We'll go back to the novel in a second, but I'm just curious because I was just looking over because I have the art from Jedi Fallen Order, like it's just the art of book. So it's interesting that they're releasing something else. So
I guess it is called The Art of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and that's May 2nd, and that's what it's called.
May 2nd. So that's what I was curious about because you're right. Yeah. We have, I'm guessing the window is somewhere between, was it March 23rd, or what's the and May 2nd?
March 7th and
March 7th and May 2nd. So
March 7th and May 2nd, and I think as this is, I'm reading off Dork Side of the Force. I've actually been pulling from them a lot lately. We should probably give them some credit. They, especially since we just interviewed their editor 2 weeks ago, so we should probably credit where credit's due. They mentioned here that the video game came out a week before the release of the art of for the first installment for Jedi Fallen Order.
All right.
So possibly late April. 2023, which falls in line with what we've heard so far. That
sure does. Of course, it falls into the busiest time of my entire professional career is that week. So that's going to be fun because I'm not going to play that game, and I'm not going to raise my daughter, and I'm not going to work. So I guess I'm just not going to sleep.
Do we know in the Ubisoft that game, that title is revealed, or
2029
Space Crickets, man?
I know nothing about that.
Nothing.
No. It's just like, how long does it take to reskin, Black Sails? Like, let's just go.
This book does sound interesting, and being called Battle Scars is a pretty provocative title. Like, I'm excited to see what that story entails.
Right. So you have Fallen Order, Battle Scars, Survivor. So I mean, there's a narrative there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a PTSD game or not, but
it might.
I mean, Siri Junda and Cal himself, like they definitely have trauma, and they definitely dive into that in the game.
I mean, spoilers for the end of Fallen Order, but like there's a lot of trauma for our main characters in that game. So
and our main villains
fallout from that.
Yeah.
Like, big spoilers here. It's like Trilla I believe Ceres' old Padawan had turned to the dark side, become an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the big reveal at the end of the game is that she was the villain, and it's a hard moment for Ceres, that character, and in the middle
of all of this, they are confronted by and survive Darth Vader. Like that is not
right.
Right.
That's harrowing. Yeah, that's like that's really the kind of the pure monster moment, the horror aspect that the card you pull when it's it's out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah.
I just played the game and I still have like nightmares of those last few stages. So I can imagine the characters actually lived through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot came out of that game. I'm sure there was a lot of work with the story group, but there's like the foundational stuff about the Inquisitorius being mostly sourced from Fallen Jedi is amazing. Or Tortured Jedi, like that all came out of there.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see Fortress Inquisitorius a lot in there. There's a lot of really interesting factoids that came out, and plus all that great narrative and crypt diving that goes on, the study of the Zepho, and like that's always my favorite thing to do is like going into the temple, like the temple searches and these other like weird Sith mythologies from ages gone by. Like that's my favorite stuff, and it's got all of that in spades. So it's like great characters, great feeling. Anyways, the novel's going to be fantastic. I bet. I haven't read Sam Maggs before, but I'm looking forward to what he's going to do.
I want to talk a bit about her in a second, but I before I get there, it's weird to think of like sometimes having a novel based on a video game world seems strange, but Fallen Order seems to lend itself. It's such a narrative story that like to for me it just makes sense to write a book in this and to experience these characters. Like I don't think it's gonna fit. Sam Maggs is relatively new to the Star Wars universe. She wrote. Actually, in the book we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, she wrote a short story. Yeah, she did. She writes the Luke on the bright side.
Oh, she does. Luke on the bright side.
Yeah, which I have some notes about.
Fantastic short story.
Good notes. She wrote a few of the comic stories in the Star Wars Adventure series. Yeah. But the thing that I want to talk about that was really interesting is she was the main writer in the Knights of the Old Republic remake.
No kidding.
Yeah,
that just got pushed, right?
Yeah, but so that's kind of the what part of that is that it just got indefinitely halted. But I'm sure it's not for any fault of hers, right? But my point being that it's interesting that she's kind of walked both of these worlds, like writing for video games and also writing for novels. And also writing for novels based on video games, right? It's such an interesting experience that she has in the universe.
Yes,
and really cool. Some of the best pun work in the business too.
Yeah,
hospitable. Are you kidding?
Hospitable. Yep, that stuck out to me as well.
That's pretty good.
Pretty much I would say one of the wittiest of the short stories we read. I really loved that story indeed.
Yeah.
That's Luke on the bright side. We'll get there. I think that's our next segment.
Oh yeah, that also a pun, as it turns out. Yeah, pun game is strong with this one.
Yes.
Far out, man. Far out. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about like novelizations of video games. Like, so the only other games that ever happened in Star Wars under Lucasfilm are the Battlefront 1 and 2.
Oh, the Karen Traviss books.
Yeah, they were really good. They were both really good.
Outstanding books.
Yeah.
Karen Traviss is one of my, if not my favorite old EU Star Wars authors. So good. And I'm just currently going through the Legacy of the Force series.
Yeah.
Which is after the Yuuzhan Vong War. And she writes like 3 of the 9 novels in there. And I had forgot about how good of a writer she is.
Yeah, and I really never looked to read this sort of like video game tie-in novels. I really don't. I just wait for the main whatever Star Wars, the storytelling that they're doing in sort of adult novel space. But those books came out and they just caught my eye. I remember loving the game, and then they were just beautifully written. I just loved the action sequences. I thought she captured the commandos so well. Like they're such good books. And the twists and turns.
Yeah, so I'm double checking here because I just wanted to make sure we got them right. I don't know if it's Karen. So the second book, Inferno Squadron for Battlefront 2, was written by Christy Golden.
Okay, I'm talking about the old Republic Commando.
Yeah, Grand
book.
Star.
Oh,
You're
you're back
talking
on
about
like
the
the real, like the
Old
core
EU.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's EU at this point, but it was still a video game. It was a mainstream video game, and it had some novels. And then what you're talking, the Battlefront books by Christy Golding are incredible as well.
Oh yeah, and it's actually Alexander Freed did the first one, and then Christy Golden did the second one. So it's not Karen Travis, though we do love her very much.
Wait, and Alexander Freed, did he do Alphabet Squadron?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he
I'm
writes.
almost certain there's some Old Republic books, tie-in books too, for that video game. Do you know the MMO? There's actually a few novels.
There was one.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean I read it.
Cut. Adam, is that included in your Legends reading list?
Oh, Grant. Yes, like literally anything. Okay,
sort of
my old EU reading list, and I apologize for anyone who's my hairbrush, includes anything published, including short stories in the role-playing magazines, short stories. It. This is why it's taken me since 2004, and now I'm an old man, and and I think based on my reading schedule, I will finish before the end of this year. But yeah, no, I read that. I mean,
I feel like you
also
can still find connections between two very obscure books.
I read that book, the book you're referring to, which I cannot think of the title. I read that while I was playing the game, because I thought it would give me some great hidden thing that I could use in the game. And
you're talking about Galaxies. Did you play?
Yeah, Star Wars Galaxies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so there was books for that as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was.
But this will be fun because I really did like these sort of like archaeological Zepho storytelling in Fallen Order. So that's actually great for novels, like to explore that the sort of like alien archaeology stuff. That's so cool.
Yeah, super fun. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Should be fantastic. Sam Maggs is great. We'll talk about her chapter a bit that she talks about in the book we're about to cover, Stories of the Jedi and the Sith, in just a moment.
Take a look, it's in a book.
Reading Wrath Time. Reading Wrath Time.
Welcome back to another segment of Reading Rathtar. This week we're covering Star Wars Stories of Jedi and Sith. Numerous authors were brought in for this project. We have Michael Kogi, Alex Segura, Sarwat Shadi, Karen Strong, Delilah S. Dawson, Michael Moretti, Vera Strange, Sam Meggs, Tessa Gratton, and Roseanne A. Brown. Lots of great authors coming in to all these fantastic short stories. Each short story sort of highlighting a different Jedi or Sith and household names, the ones we know. And so that was great. It was great to get these new stories.
A lot of new authors. Like this felt like maybe like an entry point for a lot of people, for a lot of new talent to do things, which is always exciting.
Right. Well, I think Alex Segura did write the Poe Dameron.
Yeah,
we read
a couple of them.
Yep.
Yeah, and like obviously
like
Christy Golden's done a bunch of stuff, but like a lot of these names are new.
Yeah, and kind of borrowed from either have never written in Star Wars or did a comic issue here or there. So I mean, that's why I love this. It's also why I some of the from a certain point of view, my favorites is because I like to hear new voices, right, and get excited about who's going to be telling stories in the future in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Overall, I loved this book. Like I thought each story was so unique and had such a beautiful flair, and you really felt the voice of the author. And each voice felt very distinct, yet the characters were just so perfectly realized. Like just the Darth Maul story, the Ventress story,
even Anakin,
the way they realized the characters was just flawless.
They were so compelling. The stories were so compelling just from the first story on. I was just like, I just like opened it up and I couldn't put it down. You could sense where it's going, and all of them made these stories so exciting where you're like, oh, that character is going to show up right now. Okay, let's go. Like, and you see where they're going to go. And like, I want to hear the story. I want to know where this is going to go. And it was a fun read. It was super fast. I read it mostly today, but it was great.
How do you guys want to dive through this? Do you guys chronological order? You guys feeling chronological?
I liked your off-air idea. Why don't we just pick some faves and then we'll go through it. I mean, honestly,
fill
I
out the
didn't
rest.
not like any of these stories,
No,
but
agreed.
you know, let's go where we're feeling what we're feeling good about.
I mean, my big shout out here is Worthless by Delilah Estos, and that was I loved that story. I thought I loved the sort of internal stuff with Asajj. I think Asajj Ventress is one of the greatest underutilized characters in Star Wars. I almost feel like she'd be great for a video game. She'd be great for her own Disney Plus series. Like, you know, the person, you know, giving her missions is Count Dooku, who is more epic and operatic than that character. Like, she's just such a fun character. And when she's by herself and she's on these rogue sort of missions and she happens to meet a clone trooper and have you know, they have to work together. It's fascinating. The dialogue, the back and forth. I was laughing. I was kind of, you know, I was smirking. I was just loved kind of like being in Asajj's head. And I thought Delilah Dawson just nailed that character. And beautiful, beautiful short story.
Yeah, I agree. I think I want to echo Asajj Ventress's character is so fascinating, and I think one that is often underlooked because most of her stories told within the Clone Wars, right? The cartoon.
Yeah.
And so
that's when she lived. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
you mean Clone Wars, the show, the animated
show.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those ones that I really think we forget how two characters created for that show, Ahsoka and Asajj Ventress, are two of the most fascinating Star Wars characters, right?
So cool.
And yeah.
And so if you don't read a lot of novels or you know her from the animated series, it's great, but she is a very complicated and interesting character, and she's featured prominently in both Dooku Jedi Lost, which was an audiobook, but I think it's out it's published now in paperback if you want to read it. And also she is in one of my favorite Star Wars books, Dark Disciple, which is the novelization of the season of Clone Wars that didn't get made. And it would have featured, like, she would have been the star of that whole season. You know, this is a little bit of an aside, but, you know, we had Meg Dowell on here talking about books and talking about Shadow of the Sith a couple weeks ago. And, you know, she's like, okay, these are my top 5 novels, which is like a brave thing. And we don't talk about like our top 5 in novels very often here. And it got me sort of thinking about it. And I have to say, like, Dark Disciple is in my top 5 for sure. That book is outstanding. I mean, because the characters are like sort of B characters in a lot of ways. But the complexity of Asajj Ventress is just so compelling because she is a good person. She is sort of a fallen Jedi, sort of a marginalized Jedi, and then has her own motivations. And they're like, but it's a good anti-hero sort of character.
No, I remember that book as a completionist. I remember that sitting on my shelf and kind of finally starting it and thinking, well, it's just one I have to read to get, you know, to catch them all.
Yeah.
And then about like, I don't know, 20 pages in, I'm like, this is really good. And then just it just raised so high in my esteem. And similarly, I know Delilah Estos didn't write that book, but she's written 2 books. She's written a lot of comics and short stories, but the 2 books that she's written for Star Wars are Phasma and Galaxy's Edge Black Spire.
Yeah.
And Phasma,
those are both great.
We love both those books.
Yeah, and Phasma is definitely probably on my top 5.
Just her way with words, and I just thought the short story format, I thought it was just my favorite story of them all, just because she uses the title immediately. She's like, you know, Asajj to herself is like, this battle seemed worthless, and I'm like, that's her entire character kind of wrapped up.
Everyone is worthless.
I was like, everyone's worthless there, and I was like, it's just, I love the distillation of her character. I thought this was like the most distilled. And I just really admire the short story and the structure.
Right. This is pure Asajj. Like, yes, she has in these books and novelizations, she goes through some like
And
hills,
Doc.
valleys.
Who doesn't love Doc? I mean, this might be my new favorite clone trooper. Like,
I'm trying to think if I think he made it into a Clone Wars episode or something.
I think
know I've seen
Doc
him
and I would love to check it out because we could Wikipedia that, but let's push on to other stories just because there's so many good ones in here. Worthless, so good. I want to shout out that one up front. I just really, really love that story. Guys, Vader in a jungle. I'm always here for Vader in a jungle.
Vader in a jungle,
stalking around in a jungle. Just that imagery and fighting a
Wookiee,
invisible camo lion. Like, are you
dragon lion?
Yeah, I loved all of that. I thought that was great. That was Blood Moon Rising by Vera Strange.
Yeah,
I thought that was so good.
Why don't can I jump in and say kind of my number one? And I want to do this based on. I did the audiobook. I listened to the audiobook. And so they had multiple narrators for these.
Cool.
But the one, and it was a perfect combination, and it was the Ghosts of Maul. Yeah. And this is read by Sam Witwer.
Oh, great.
What a treat.
And sometimes I won't name names, but I've listened to other Star Wars audiobooks read by
and that's
actors.
Crazy because there's other characters that arrive in that story.
And I will talk about those momentarily.
Does he do those voices as well?
Yep. And I'll talk about that in a second. But I've listened to other Star Wars books read by some of the actors, and it's just been kind of hit or miss. He goes full Maul through this entire thing. So his growly, angry.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible. It's listening to Maul talk.
That's so cool.
I just wrote down cell phone, Maul cell phone.
Yes, it's just him raging. And
I just moved past that. I was like, prison of his own making, and then I just pressed period.
I know.
Tortured.
He's Sisyphus, man, pushing that boulder up the hill.
And you get that. And so I think that was kind of getting both of those things were so great. And so I always forget that Sam Witwer's an American, right? Like I watched the American version of Being Human, which was kind of one of the things he was big on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I halfway through this thing, I had to pause and be like, is he British doing American accents in shows? Because it's usually that way, but he's American doing
British in that show.
British and doing really well. And then he's also doing all the other voices. So when it's General Grievous, he does General Grievous and they put the General Grievous filter on it, but he actually sounds like Grievous. He sounds like Palpatine, like every other character. He does a really good job of actually imitating their voices. I was really impressed by it.
Oh, cool. So they let him just flex a little bit and be like,
I
can do
Ultimate GM territory.
Yeah, how was his Liam Neeson?
That's the one. Thank you. I knew there was one. Spot on. It sounded like he was doing Liam Neeson.
I have a particular set of skills.
No, honestly, yes. Spot on. And so he
we got Taken, the short story in this anthology series. I just don't want that happen.
Yes, but we sure did.
We did get. Oh my gosh, we did get Taken. Yeah, that is so weird.
Got took.
The second story is called Resolve by Alex Segura, and it is essentially.
I guess we don't need to cover it. It's if you've seen the movie Taken. I'm just joking.
Yeah,
replace his daughter with Padawan.
It's very true. I also want to shout out because we had Meg on a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember if she mentioned this on air or off air, but she mentioned that she had gotten a copy of the Ascensions Legends book, Darth Maul Shadowhunter, but she had gotten the audio version, and Sam Witwer reads that too, and she had mentioned just like not spoiling, but like you're not going to believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now, I haven't gotten any of the audiobooks for the Essentials, but I'm 100% going to go back and get this now, listen to this, because to listen to him narrate 250 pages of Maul is so good. Like it was just, and I know I'm gushing a little bit, but like, again, reading an audiobook is a very special skill because it's not just reading. Like you have to like think about like every form, first person, third person, all of this. And he is able to hit every inflection perfectly. Like I was really impressed. I want Sam Witwer to read all of my audiobooks.
He's a pro. He's
a
pro, man.
And who knew?
Indeed. Well, so that was actually, I think that was gonna be my first.
Oh, sorry.
But no, I as we were having this conversation, I changed it a bit. How's your mic there, Grant? Is it drooping?
Oh.
Droopy mic.
Just having a little. Just the stand is giving me some problems right now.
I can tell.
It
tell.
should be
Droopy McCool over there.
Yeah. So if you hear that rustling sound, that's Grant
It should be
wrestling
okay now.
with his microphone droid. Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna pick because I did love the Maul one mostly because Dark Side Castle, like, my goodness.
Oh, right. Sith Castle. That was
Sith Castle. Like, yeah, those are like my two favorite things. So all about that. But I think I'm gonna pick Michael Cog. What a Jedi Makes.
Oh yeah,
that one was so good. That almost was my number one, just because.
Yeah, same.
The perspective, I think, right?
Yeah, I think we overlook it because it was the first one.
Yeah, you're just kind of settling in, and
and it just like the POV and like the whole, you don't know, like, is this kid really, like, you think he's force sensitive in the beginning, and then it's like all this stuff, and then like the cool like Yoda cameos, and I just it was just it was just a really compelling story.
You really got a sense of the geography, and like it felt sprawling when you and it just read with ease. Like it was just you really felt like you were in Coruscant. You were with this orphan from the Undercity, sort of exploring like just outside the Jedi Temple, and I heard it was built on a mountain, and all this kind of cool stuff. And then
there's probably still some fauna in or some flora in Coruscant at this point, because it happens in the Old Republic era.
Yeah, and he's kind of like darting around processional way, which is that long walkway that goes to the temple, which is so iconic. And then talk about temple guards and.
Oh yes, that was my favorite line.
Yeah, I had that highlighted as well. Yeah.
And like they have double-bladed lightsabers, and like there's a story that's like almost like 300. It's like Thermopylae. It's like 3 temple guards fought off like 3,000. It's like just a legend that's just going around the temple. I was like, that's great.
So exceptional.
I need 300.
Combat. Yeah.
Why not give Zack Snyder that?
That it was. Yeah.
Right,
that
go for it.
In Temple
Guards.
That's such a Zack Snyder movie right there. It's just Temple Guards flexing for like 120 minutes.
Yeah, between the monoliths stood 3 masked sentinels armed with cylindrical hilts of double-bladed lightsaber pikes. These were the Temple Guards, an elite corps of Jedi chosen to defend the temple against intruders. So exceptional were they in combat that it was rumored in ages past a mere 3 had turned back an army of 3,000. Yeah, I mean that's that's like
movie.
The byline, right?
I know, right? Just give us that.
They were not to be trifled with. Please do not trifle.
Yeah.
It was also good in the story to get a little bit of Yoda in the High Republic, because we got a little bit of him in the Phase 1, right? He was mostly in the IDW comic series for a while, and then he just disappeared, literally.
Well, good news, he is getting his own comic run this fall, just entitled Yoda. It's just.
Do we know? Is it High Republic era, or do we know? I guess it must be.
I'm guessing. No. It's actually, the description is he's on Dagobah recollecting his years
so it's gonna be
Jedi, and I think he goes all the way back to High Republic and then forward. I would love to see
before High Republic. Yeah, exactly.
There's still like what 700 years before High Republic of his life.
Yeah,
he's like, I remember those first 50 years when I couldn't talk.
Yeah. Or maybe it's going to go all the way around.
And the inevitable
first memory will be him with
who...
the Mandalorian. Because time travel.
Yeah. Can there be only 2? Does that mean there's? I don't know.
And you just find out Grogu went through a world between worlds, and it's just a loop.
Yeah, exactly. Don't forget, time travel happens in Star Wars. It's a thing.
Oh man,
it's canon.
All right, easy.
Morning porridge. I want some morning porridge at the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, I bet it's delicious.
I would like to attend the breakfast at the Jedi Temple, the morning porridge, the first pouring of the morning porridge. I would like to attend that.
Yes, that sounds lovely. But
it also feels big when they mention 2 different sections of the Undercity. That he's like from 1312 and she's from like 1014.
Yeah,
it's so cool. Like yes, like it just feels
he's like 1014. Woof.
Yeah. He's like, that's a bad area. She's like, try to forget.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, what goes on in 1014?
Yeah, we don't even talk about that.
Right.
She's like, I literally repressed all those memories. Like, she's like, yeah, I was there. I don't remember anything on purpose. Yeah, it was. I don't know. It just so that story just sucked me into this book, and then it was just a wild, lovely ride after that. So I'll give Michael Kagi the props for that one, man. They're really good, but Grant, I thought for sure
too.
Oh, what were you going to say?
Yeah,
please.
No, you go for it, Ben.
I mean, Grant, I was curious that you didn't choose Tessa Gratton's Masters. Yeah.
Let's talk about Masters. Yeah,
coming to a head right now. It's Masters. Yeah. Masters is. I mean, it's sort of like, I think it is the most poetic and like most beautiful short story in the book. Like, I really do love it. I feel like it's great. It's a lot of overlap with the film, so it's like I loved that, but I just kind of knew where it was going. But then when it adds like this little new nugget that I actually love. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
I'm okay with it.
Perfect sense to me. Some people might not like it, but it makes perfect sense to me that a sort of like fading, sort of like, Force ghost of Yoda would appear before the Emperor, like a sort of like it's not entirely visible like a Jedi, but it's like Yoda's essence and Yoda's being is sort of in that room for just like a beat with the Emperor when he passes, and the Emperor's cackling and thinking he's won because Yoda's passed, and he senses that the Force is shifted, right? They've sort of been like a tectonic shift, I imagine, in the Force.
Yeah, it's something like it wasn't him finally sensing Yoda, it was that Yoda was everywhere when he became one with the Force, and it was just like hit him like a tidal wave.
I mean, it is weird that he's kind of speaking aloud, like, I've already won, and then Yoda's like, win you cannot. And it was like, that was pretty cool. Like, I liked that a lot. It's a pretty impactful story. I would say it's the most impactful of all the short stories.
Yeah. And this happens literally minutes before Palpatine's downfall. No pun intended.
Right. Yeah. Because then
he
goes to sit in the chair and await the arrival of young Skywalker.
Right. Yeah. Like, and that's it. And like, then there's 15 minutes of just this whatever, and then he's down a shaft.
And as he's laughing,
then he comes back. But you know what I mean? Like,
as he's laughing, his laugh kind of like carries down, like Dopplers down the shaft that he dies in, or whatever. Like, there's a really interesting poetic sort of imagery that the author's getting at. I really loved Masters. Again, there was just a lot of overlap with the film, so I didn't want to jump on that one, obviously, because the films are already like just masterpieces.
No, so I will say, when I was reading this book, I was like, I'm enjoying it. It's starting. I'm liking getting into Sheev's brain and him kind of talking about everything. And then it retells the Yoda Sheev fight from episode 3, like in detail.
Yeah, like word for word.
Like, and so I'm sitting here.
I read this novelization already.
So that's what I'm saying. So I'm sitting here going, and this ends happily, but I'm sitting here going, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
What is going on? And then when it cuts to Yoda, and then it comes back to Sheev, I'm like, I see what we're doing
the
here.
Dots
like,
where you never really connect them when you watch the films, which is that's why I think that's so beautiful and sort of transcendent.
Just have the two masters always.
And Tessa Gratton also just is perfect at writing Sheev. I mean, when he's just like she talks about all his titles, and then he's like, only the weak call me Emperor. You know what I mean? Like, it's true. Like, anyone who's going to call him the Emperor is weak and not looking at it like he shouldn't be in power. He's, this deceptive kind of tyrannical.
Yeah. They don't even know half the story if they're calling him Emperor. He's like, that was just like a side project. Like, I am the master.
It starts with him just naming all of his titles and names, right? Like, just going, I've been called many things. And
Sheev. There's a Sheev drop in there. Sheev alert.
Yep. And I think so. Tessa Gratton wrote prior to this, or no, this is Tessa's first work. And then
Star Wars,
and then they I don't know, I didn't check pronouns, but they have 2 books in the next High Republic phase. So Path of Deceit and writing, which is young adult, and then Quest for Planet X. So that's gonna be great.
Ben, did you also see that Palpatine says, I've had several apprentices?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I know he has.
we know he had numerous apprentices.
I mean, you could just say like,
He said
well, he had.
three.
I mean
I
that we know of. He had
Right.
Maul.
I would have I dabbled with a few apprentices, but several for me was kind of provocative. I was like, what does that mean?
I mean, if we're getting all technical, a few is 3 to 7, and several is more than 7.
Maul, Dooku, Anakin, right? Or Maul, Dooku,
Yeah.
Vader, technically.
Yeah.
But there's some like there's plenty of room for other.
There's room for more. Yeah.
And I think actually, oh my gosh, I don't think it's canon, but I think in one of the early Maul novelizations there was like another apprentice that he had to like fight out to like win being Palpatine's apprentice.
I think you're right.
That sounds familiar.
Sorry, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't reading for podcast level comprehension at that point. So but yeah, it's I don't know. So don't quote me on that. But yeah, there I think there were some things going on there. And now that we know that like Dooku, had a Saj and like there's all these sort of like side pieces going around with the Sith Lords, it's like no, they're just an assassin that happens to be really strong in the Force, no big deal. And it's sort of tolerated, even though the whole rule of 2 thing. So yeah, who knows? And plus we don't, the whole life of, what happened after Anakin died, right? And he's just a Force apparition. Was there something like, was his dark spirit like creating some sort of I mean, technically Kylo, is he tangentially an apprentice of Palpatine, of Sidious? Because like Sidious in Rise of Skywalker's like, I've been pulling your every string. I've been planning.
Oh yeah, I would.
And then
I mean, technically,
is Snoke?
I was gonna say I don't want to like open this can of worms.
Continuing in a
but
technical
what about
aspect.
Snoke?
Yes.
Snoke is technically an apprentice, but this all happens before then. So
yeah, he's Snoke's apprentice though, and I'd like to think that Snoke has like the Luke's hand stuff going on. And
that is my headcanon as well. Yeah, but we'll see.
That's poetic.
He left Luke just to join another Luke.
Yeah, that's
this
kind
is meet my superior.
It's like
person.
Yeah,
Luke.
Hubris is just embodied in that. It's like, ooh, you thought you would get teachings from someone else, but it's really just a twisted version of Palpatine and Luke. Yeah.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, because it would be probably a double strand cast. It'd be like half Luke, half Palpatine would be what Snoke is.
Or it's like to try to make Luke, it turns into a Snoke or something.
Yeah. But like the genetic material would.
This conversation actually pertains to the game we're going to play at the end of the night. So.
Fun. All right.
Oh, the game. We're doing a game every week, everybody. So stick around till the end.
But Jedi's Duty, I just wanted to highlight that story. Jedi's Duty.
Oh yes, so did I. Yeah,
that's strong. I thought that was really fun. I always love Barrisophie, and I think Luminara Undula has the greatest drip of all Jedi ever. I think she's the ultimate
she's swaggy.
Swagged out Jedi of all time. I love Luminara Unduli.
Yeah, and reading Barriss is interesting too, especially because of we know her eventual end, right? Or her story.
Yeah,
and you get little like flavors of where that's coming from in this.
I think she's like the best analog for sort of like the Jedi Order during this time. Like she is kind of the microcosm of what's happening with the Clone Wars more than any other character, I would argue.
Yeah.
Just because she's unsettled by the Clone Wars. She doesn't really understand it. She's feeling like emotionally, I don't know, damaged or sort of like torn about it all. And that's what's permeating the galaxy right now. And like this story kind of made me think, maybe mental health is what the Jedi needed around this time. A lot of them seem very paranoid. I think mental health is the big standout issue that we're not highlighting when we talk about the politics of the Clone Wars.
No, I think that's really
is the most needed. It's the most needed. Because all the Jedi seem paranoid that a darkness has already overtaken the Republic. What is that? That is like some conspiracy level. That is like some crazy thinking that like they need to talk to people.
It's also like
get proper
pay
help.
attention to warning signs.
Right.
Barriss is like left and missed because everyone is focused on the macro level, like war, and no one's paying attention to the soldiers, right? Like this is the other thing that we see, and like not to get too political or not even political, but to get too like real life is like we see the people we put in there, we don't into the front lines, and we don't pay attention to what they're suffering from, right? And so like
we don't take care of them when they're off the
right.
She talks to one Jedi at some point, and the Jedi's just like, we should all remember our duty as Jedi and not let Count Dooku and the dark side of the Force get the better of us, or something like that. Like, they've made this other at this point, and they're playing it up to such a way that it's just this towering, nemesis. And I'm like, you can't you honestly need to try to see, if whatever you're fighting, it's probably fighting whoever the people who are being sucked into this campaign for the Confederacy of Independent Systems, whoever is joining that cause, like there's still going to be innocent people there. Like, there's still hope within that enemy. It doesn't have to just be evil. Like they've kind of made Dooku into this pure evil that is not good. It destroyed the Order, basically.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of crazy that like you have these Buddhists that have been Buddhists for 10,000 years, and then like Sidious just like, and the Emperor, Palpatine sort of shifts, works the levers of power in such a way that suddenly they take on this military doctrine, and it's like it's gone from this like holistic mindfulness to like, we are generals, there's a war to win, this is our role now, and they just like they just like morph into this military complex all of a sudden, and it just makes so much sense that someone like Barriss Offee is like, I got into this to be a healer and a gardener and like, and to help people, and you want me to do like go on and like this mission, and like I just watched all my friends die, and like I don't believe in any of this at all, and I was not raised to believe in any of this, and it is sort of ludicrous. Obviously it's a movie and it's a story, but it's sort of ludicrous when you put it through that lens.
Yeah.
No, it is, but I think that's what George was going for, right? I think that's Lucas was thinking about. This is the downfall of the Jedi. I don't think he, in his heart of heart, thinks Jedi should be generals in a war, right? I don't think that's the lesson we're supposed to take away from Star Wars.
Yeah, but it's just like ludicrous that it actually happened. It's like the fact that Yoda and like, I mean, if Mace is a leader on this council, like he just slid right into war general. It was just like, yep, I'll be in the war room if you need me. Sending people to their deaths. And like,
and here's our armor. Like, everyone just throw on their armor and become generals. Like, and command all these people having no training. Like, it's wacky. I
mean, it does make sense. Like, they need them. Like, what if actually, that was one of the questions that I had when I was reading this. What if the like Jedi just said no? And we might have talked about this about 100 episodes ago, but it's worth rehashing. What if the Jedi were like, nope, not fighting in your war? Lately it seems like they would have just gotten steamrolled by the Separatists, and then I don't know what Sidious would have done after that, but the whole point was to get the Jedis fighting in the war so that he would have them in a vulnerable place to be able to stab them all in the back at the same time. So maybe the Jedi Order would have survived.
Can I give you an alternative possible outcome? If
there's so many
more positive. So we see at end of episode 9 that like it's a bit ham-fisted, but there's like, it's not an army, it's just people, right? Like you get that line. But this thing is like, probably what would have happened, there's no standing army, but there's a lot of people who are trained and who have experience. So you probably would have had a standing army of the Republic pretty quickly. And then the Jedi would have been actual like people who could have negotiated peace, because they would not have been warriors on either side. So probably what would have happened is they would have negotiated peace in the galaxy pretty quickly.
And if you're like, okay, time to defend your own home, then suddenly we are the Republic again, right? It's like everyone's it binds the Republic together.
And the Republic and the Jedi are impartial negotiators.
Yeah. Yeah, which is kind of what they should be. Happened.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't have all died. And it really would have foiled Sidious's plans.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he wouldn't have been he wouldn't have become.
You gotta think the droids were invading. I think I read a lot of books where it's like the chapters like the Separatist droid army has invaded the city, invaded the area, and the Republic seem like to be like liberators. That's that's the dynamic. But as droids, like no one's thinking about like the programming and like who is who's at the head of the droid army, who is sending the orders, like dismantling that, almost like more intelligence, running more intelligence ops.
Right, the Jedi can't investigate
battling in the
busy.
field. It's like, it just seems like you're going to fight like these mass-produced, like killing machines. It's just you're throwing organics against it. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
it's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea.
Totally
But think about the amount of work that Obi-Wan does in Episode 2 when he's not being a general. He's actually running investigations and discovering things.
Yeah, more Obi work needed to happen.
Right. So the Jedi would be free to actually.
They need like an intelligence
investigation, do intelligence, figure this stuff out.
Yeah, and the fact that everyone's sensing this dark cloud over everything, wouldn't that be the time to pull back and be
let's investigate
think about
that. Yeah.
Let's think about that.
Yeah.
That's our purview. Let's go through it. I mean, so we're talking about it whether we're meaning to or not. Sarwat Chada's The Eye of the Beholder. This is the story of Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we've seen a million stories about Obi-Wan and Anakin at this point, and I was like, okay,
I mean,
fascinated.
It's the summer of Obi-Wan.
It is really the summer of Obi-Wan. But the fact that we got the POV of the children that were being saved, it totally just breathed new life, and it made this story so fresh and so cool. And so you're seeing through this lens of just what did I just see? These are myths unfolding before my eyes, and it was such a fun perspective. And it is a fun perspective, but it's the perspective, right? That's what they are. The Jedi are this mystical peacekeepers that are really cool with cool laser swords doing awesome things and saving people and being selfless. And that story was awesome. It was real.
It was so good. It was very cinematic. I would say this was almost the most cinematic of the stories, because you felt like you were on this planet that's burning because it's deemed of low strategic values, or that's what they say themselves. But they're still hoping someone will save them. These two kids, Zora and Demuz, her brother or younger brother, whatever. And then they're basically running around these abandoned buildings, and these battle droids are executing a standard termination protocol, and basically combing through rooms and just taking out whatever living beings are in those rooms, or whatever. It's
and all the infrastructure.
It felt like almost the Raptors in Jurassic Park. I almost saw that scene as I was reading that part specifically. Yeah. And then of course to the rescue, Anakin Skywalker, beautifully described as he comes in and just crushes a droid, cuts its head off.
Yeah, in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that this story did really, really well, and it's I think it's not told enough. Is sort of they touch on it a little bit in The Mandalorian, but to the average being in the galaxy, these droids are terrifying. And if you've ever gone to any of the prop shows or something, those B1 battle droids are 6.5 feet tall. Of
I'm almost hoping there's another Galaxy's Edge that they open up at some point that is Clone Wars era, and it is droid controlled city where it's super battle droids and droids are just constantly accosting people, and animatronic droids are just walking around.
That would be the scariest park of all time, because they are. But it's so funny from the Jedi's point of view.
I would love that park.
Yeah, I would love it. Yeah.
And then clone troopers liberate in a gunship or something. You know what I mean? You get it every day. There's 3 o'clock.
You're all just basically describing the original Michael Crichton Westworld. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna get sentient and go bad.
Yeah. Wait a second. Roger. Let's get out of here. But it's just funny because they get to have it both ways. It's when they're introduced, they're sort of comic, but it's because we see it through the Jedi's point of view, and they're just lightsaber fodder. And they have these funny, as soon as things go wrong, they get really funny, and which would probably be even more terrifying if you were getting hunted by these things. But they are, they're like velociraptors.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of scary in this short story where it's turning on infrared. You know what I mean? Turning on their night vision. It's spooky. It's they're coming after you, targeting you. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, it's the Terminator or something
It's true. Yeah, it's super. They did such a good job with that. I want to talk a second. We've already talked a bit about Luke on the bright side. I was looking over my notes, and Sam Mags might have written my favorite line in Star Wars history. I just want to read this. real quick. This is from Luke's perspective. I've always needed to be helpful, mostly of use. That's what my Aunt Beru liked to call me in the sweetest way. She didn't have a not sweet bone in her body. Her bones. Don't think about that.
Don't think about that. Yeah. I highlighted that passage too.
It made me laugh and it made me go, oh, that's dark. And like, it's one of those things because I remember as a kid, and I think all of us did, like that scene still traumatizes me. Like they just that quick cut of just the smoking skeletons of Owen and Beru. It's rough when you're a kid to see, and Luke saw that. Like that is trauma, right? Like that's gonna be when Luke's there all the time. Yeah.
The rebel just offhandedly is just like, we're in the galaxy's worst ice cream shop, and I was on there on
yeah. So witty. Yeah, lots of great.
There's a lot of jokes in that one. There's a lot of jokes.
It was good. It was really well written. I appreciate the back and forth. Yeah.
It is funny, dopey Luke, which we.
But I also absolutely love Sam Maggs's descriptions of Tatooine. Like I really loved those parts of the story. It kind of swept me away. I thought it was really beautifully described, and diving into Luke, sort of soaking in the atmosphere of his homeworld. I really thought
the opening monologue about darkness, right from Luke's side of just like there isn't really like that's not a thing on a desert planet.
Yeah, on that one, because it's a lot of people know that Tatooine has 2 suns, but did you know they had 3 moons? Or it has 3 moons, and she names them.
She names
cool.
the moons. And so cool.
Yeah, super really cool. Pretty cool. So not a lot of darkness actually on that planet ever, but I love that it's you're going on the journey with Luke in his relationship with darkness. So at the beginning, he's like, he gives this very scientific explanation of like darkness, but then he like gets to his real why, where he's like, I'm afraid of the darkness because I'm afraid I'll get used to it.
Right.
Which is hardcore.
Yeah. No, I mean, we get almost the entire journey of Luke's character in this short story that we see him in the movies, like episode 6 or 4 through 9 or 4 through 8. Yeah. And the one we haven't talked about, which is the last one, which is the Roseanne Brown Through the Turbulence featuring Rey, which is our only story that takes place in the sequel era. Mostly because we only have one true Jedi and Sith in that era. Like I guess there's debates about whether or not to have Ben or not, or Kylo and all that. And just a quick shout out to This Is Lit, which is Meg's podcast. She had an interview with Roseanne Brown a few weeks ago. Definitely check that out because Roseanne, this is her first foray into the Star Wars galaxy. She's no other credits with it.
I loved this short story.
So did I.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we've name dropped Meg 7 times now. I think we can get to 10 if we work really hard.
Yeah.
But check out her interview with Roseanne Brown. I don't want to blow too much of it, but I do. No. There was one little nugget that I'd love to bring out. It's just Roseanne Brown sounds like just the sweetest person in the world. But she said, we get some of like, a lot of like people helping Luke through his like trauma that he goes through, but like we don't see a lot of that. Like Rey totally went through that, and here she is, and we never get to go through it, and that was a story she wanted to tell, and so it was it makes a lot of sense. So it's a very essential story, and it was good. It was good ground laying, and you get a lot of the post stuff that's necessary.
Which is fun because I always think about one of the things I always there's a couple of like random factoids I talk about people with the sequel trilogy, like randomly that Ben when Ben comes back he says one word which is ow, like it's my favorite thing about it, like but like the other thing is that like Poe and Rey don't meet until the very end of episode 8. And when you see him again in episode 9, they have a full-formed relationship at that point. They're razzing each other. They know each other. And so it's nice to see the story set in between that kind of investigates kind of the building of their relationship, of their friendship, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's what I meant by it's necessary with Poe. I like the character a lot, but it's like, I want more of it. And I want more of his development and sort of who he is and what is he doing when he's not in the cockpit of a fighter.
We got some of it in comics, but I really want an episode 8.9 novel, right?
Yeah.
That just is just Rey, just Rey, Finn, Poe, just kind of learning each other, becoming close to one another. Yeah.
There
I think
is
we're
a
gonna
5-part comic series that does cover a little.
Yeah,
bit.
I think it's what is it called? I was thinking the same one, and I can't remember. It's the Allegiance.
Allegiance. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Good pull. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
You dug deep and you found it.
Yeah, that's why he's our resident expert.
MacGyver.
Yeah, I think they're gonna, with the sequel trilogy, I think people are not wanting too much sequel stuff right now. They've sort of had it. We just had like the end of the sequel trilogy and all that. And so I think Lucasfilm is going back. They're starting from Return of the Jedi and they're creeping forward in the Mandoverse, and thgoing to keep creeping and creeping. And in like 10 years, there's, the people that grew up with the sequel trilogy and really love it are going to want, there'll be that need for more. And then, I think they'll start exploring a lot more of that space in between the sequel, the sequel trilogy. And I mean, there really isn't much space. The only space is that year between episode 8 and episode 9. But I think, eventually we're going to get that in living color.
Yeah.
Of it. And hopefully we get a sequel content.
Oh, we will.
If they don't want to do another trilogy, that's cool. But like,
what if it's more of like
series?
a Game of Thrones or a Rings of Power, and it's sort of like Rey, like 20, 30 years from now or something, and it's like dives into a lot of the politics and like what's going on, and just I don't know, that could be fun, because as much as I want movies, I almost feel like those characters are so epic that you might get a really cool space fantasy series with those characters. I don't know.
Especially as the technology is getting better and better. I mean, for me, my only message now, it's like, all right, they've done the sagas and like the trilogy thing has sort of had its space, and like, I just want more. I always just want more Star Wars.
Well, what's set up here is kind of like Rey is Luke, like Poe is going to be Leia, right? And like Finn is going to be
a new character.
Can really be anything he wants to. Because he is force sensitive, and I could see that.
I mean, I think
he should be a second force sensitive character.
Yeah, he's gonna be. I think
Leia.
Finn is gonna be like Leia or Han with force powers.
Yeah, it's
both,
like Han
right?
with force, but he's good. Like he's the altruist, whereas Rey might be dabble in the darkness, just given her lineage. But like Finn could be the altruist. He could be like whatever he has a bad feeling about. We should trust. We should trust Finn's.
Yeah, he's
right.
kind of
he could really be her support system in like keeping her on the level, and like maybe he gets captured or something, and like that like unhinges Rey a little bit.
Or like what we have set up now that's poetic is what's set up now that's super poetic is that Finn could use a blaster for the majority of the time, use the Force, sense things with the Force, be treated, he's a lot like a Jedi, but then eventually when the stakes get really, really high, he picks up a lightsaber. And it echoes sort of Force Awakens, but it echoes Force Awakens in like a kind of Arthurian way where it's like, oh no, he's always meant to use a sword and he's really good with a sword. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love for him to be both Ben Solo and Han Solo at the same time. Why not shoot for the moon? Like, he's an amazing actor. He's an amazing character. Like, let's bring this character to its full potential. Like, I think he could be that person. He doesn't need to be the like, the like butt chin hero, but like he should be a super, a strong character in a lot of different ways. Like the biggest heart, and also a really adept fighter, in two different ways. Like sort of. Yeah. Smuggler, swashbuckler, but also pure Jedi Knight. And
we're gonna post all of our contact information in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, maybe until I'm about to say what I'm about to say, which is like we're all like positive Star Wars first, but I just want to say something that's maybe kind of my feelings that aren't super negative, but I think of like the end of episode 6. I always ended as a kid going, I want to know where their story goes from here. Right. That's always what I want to know. Yeah. At the end of episode 9, I felt that way about Rey. I want to know where her story goes. Yep. With Poe, my thought was, I want to know what his story is. I don't feel like we got Finn's story, to be frank.
Even with the novelization, Yeah, we got his origin story, but it was like it doesn't really tell.
Yeah, I just feel like with everything happening, it just kind of got left on the wayside. And so give him his own story, his movie, a TV show, something. I want his story.
Yeah.
Like he needs what is he leaning towards? Piloting lightsabers, like he seems to be good large scale battles. Like he seems to really like take down large swaths of stormtroopers. But like I don't know, other than I guess he's just a commander in this new war, the Resistance, the new Civil War or whatever.
What is his ultimate form, right? I think they're sort of writing a thing where he in this story he calls Leia Organa a mentor, and so that leads, he would be a really cool character. Again, like I'm thinking about this, Grant, and it would actually be fun if they aged these characters up.
Yeah, that's what I see. I'm thinking to give it like a House of the Dragon, Rings of Power. I'm not saying like age them up, new actors. I don't know, like you could really maybe not new actors, but like I don't know.
It would be cool if he was like a bridge general, like on Starship. He's leading the whatever the Republic's army or military, sort of like Harrison Dula, something like that. And then, but like every once in a while, he's forced to get into a starship, and it's just like, oh no, Poe's in a ship, and it's just like, and he just ruins everybody, and you're like, oh, that's that would be a fun thing to do. But if he became sort of a wizened general, I think he would wear that well.
Totally.
Poe should like discover that threat, whatever it is, for this new, storyline, right? Like at the fringes of space, whatever. He's like,
exploring or patrolling, and then he's like, oh boy, that could be really cool. There's just the actors are great, the characters are great. I want more.
Agreed.
And then you can open it up for a whole new bank of dark side characters that maybe they're sort of founded in Acolyte or something, and it's like starts a long lineage that leads there, or Acolytes of the Sith, or some of these novels where people come out of, or Abeloth, or whatever it's going to be. Or it's Rey herself, which would be wild.
Yeah.
I think now that the High Republic's sort of hashed out now, I think it could be fun to just go a little bit, not even a little bit before that, but like just the Jedi Sith Wars, right? I mean, we just got to dive into the Jedi Sith Wars.
I want both things.
Yeah, go forward, go backwards. Build it all out.
Yeah.
We get here every episode.
Yeah, but wouldn't the stuff that goes forward be kind of the most tantalizing? Because you're like,
see, it would be nostalgia.
Unknown territory.
It would be nostalgia sort of drops again with sort of like I can already see the trailer. It's like Oscar Isaac's more salt and pepper. Like Chewbacca has some gray. Like C-3PO's rusted. It's like a little bit even pushed even more in the future. It's
is that the danger of waiting? 15 years. Like maybe we like do it. Like
do it now.
Like you're saying, Ben. Like do it now, but jump forward in time, because maybe we got the nostalgia stuff out of our system, and we can just tell a story moving forward, as opposed to my fears we're going to wait 15 years and it's just going to be
more nostalgia,
which nostalgia is great and fine and everything, but enough. Like, let's just move forward and not be constrained by what came before.
And then they'll have all that room for comics and novels and stuff if they do jump 10 years, 10, 15, 20 years, or 30 years, because there could be a period of peace, but they can backfill whatever the new dark side characters are, or the new characters they bring in. Rose Tico should have like a great, role in the new order as well.
Absolutely.
And and they can actually develop that. But you can only mash the nostalgia button so many times, I think. And they're not stupid at Lucasfilm. They know this. Like, they know what they're doing. Well, we did it again. We talked about the sequel trilogy for 15 minutes because everyone asked, I think.
We have one more game to play.
Oh, let's go.
That's right.
Let's go.
Look, good against remotes is one thing. Good against the living, that's something else.
Welcome to another after show game, Star Wars themed game that we're playing. I believe 2 weeks ago we played Guess That Quote, and then Ben brought over Guess That Blaster. I'm going to bring up now Name Their Homeworld. Their Homeworld.
Okay.
It's gonna start off, the difficulty will be quite easy in the beginning here, and that's just for our normal listeners, people who aren't super involved with reading every book that comes out and are just kind of watching the films. And then as we get down the list, it will get increasingly more difficult. Pulls from books, pulls from all over the Star Wars mythos. So let's start it off pretty easy here. So let's not guess super quick. I'm sure you guys will be hitting the buzzers right away. But here we go. Luke Skywalker's
Tatooine.
home world. Tatooine.
Yeah, Tatooine.
Let's just dial it up just slightly here. Han Solo.
Corellia.
Yeah.
Corellia. Points all around. I think you guys are right on there.
I think my connections factor is faster than yours.
Having just seen Obi-Wan, let's just dive into Princess Leia. All of our listeners out there and people who just watch the show, we all know where she comes from. Points all around.
Alderaan.
So,
Are we talking about I guess we're talking about where they grew up versus where they're born, because I think it's like asteroid 28743 is technically
right. Right.
Oh yeah, actually, you're right.
Where Luke,
that's right. It's a moon
for Luke, and
it's moon. Yeah, but we'll go with. I think yes. I think Alderaan.
Yeah, I guess it's where they dwelled when they were children.
Homeworld.
Yeah, you're right. It is Polis Massa.
Massa.
That's right. But as Ben, you said yes. Grant said homeworld, which is different than birth planet. So yes,
birthplace.
Yeah, and these are Wikipedia. You can check these on Wikipedia, I believe.
You can check your math. Okay.
Yeah.
Ben Solo.
Coruscant?
No. It was it's Mon Mothma's Chandrila.
Oh, Chandrila.
Correct. Snoke's homeworld. Designated homeworld.
Exegol?
It's
correct.
Is it Exegol technically?
Adam's got that. Okay.
I thought you were trying to pull that space station that was over.
You could do Navarro, whatever cloning facility, but I don't think he's in there. I think it's something else. Honestly.
Yeah, it's got to be Exegol.
We see active Snokes in a tube.
Yeah, we see Snoke's the tank.
Count Dooku.
Serrano. He is the
Serrano.
Count
That's
Serrano.
Right, Serrano. Well done.
Darth Maul's homeworld.
Dathomir.
Correct. Rose Tico. We're dialing it up a little bit. Rose Tico.
Oh. Come on.
Oh man, you're making me think of that novel.
The novel, yeah.
Cobalt Squadron, I believe, right? Is that the
Cobalt Squadron?
Squadron.
Yeah.
Kellerman Tran actually narrates the audiobook. I don't know if that counts for anything.
Well, only if you remember
this
what.
This is a tough one. This is a tough one.
Rose and
Hazian.
Very close. Very close.
Because it's Hazian
Minor. Haze Minor.
Because it's
good.
Hazian smelt. I got there
Very
because of Space
wow,
Finster refers to as Hazian smelt.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Almost got there. All right.
Poe Dameron.
A Yavin 4.
Correct.
Oh, right.
Jyn Erso.
Well,
this one's actually, it's not the one where she spends most of her time as a child. It's her birthplace.
Her birthplace is Coruscant, right?
No.
I think she was born on Coruscant.
I guess it's not. This is
they moved around a lot
on Wikipedia, and having just read Catalyst, I guess I can be your homeworld. But to me, it's
it facility?
Could be Coruscant, like the Lamu, but it's a different one.
Is it like the facility where they are working at before?
Yes, Adam.
Yeah, before they leave. I don't know the name of the planet.
It's on the ice world of Vault.
Okay.
Right.
Nice.
I remember that because I was playing Borderlands at the time and couldn't separate the vault from Vault.
All right. And now with the Andor series rapidly approaching.
Oh no.
Cassian Andor's home world, and could we see it in the series?
I don't know this one.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Did they mention it in Rogue One?
It may be in the books. Maybe in
the book.
He's not featured. Oh yeah, he is featured in one of the books in Catalyst, isn't?
No, I don't think so. But I wonder if it may be in the novelization.
This is future knowledge.
Yeah,
I don't think there is a novelization.
His homeworld is Fest.
Fest.
Okay.
Yes.
How's it spelled? F-E-S-T?
F-E-S-T, yes.
It is. Fest. Okay. Interesting.
That's a good name, actually.
Yeah.
It's cool. Wilhoff Tarkin.
Oh, I they hunt It's a very like I can picture the world.
I can picture it. It's
I can
something to do with the
picture
carrion spike was like the actually
Yeah.
a geographic.
I could picture a shirtless Tarkin
yeah,
ponying a guy.
hunt. Yeah, a lot of hunting.
It's Iriadu.
Iriadu.
Iriadu,
That's
yeah.
right.
Good. Yeah.
I never would have gotten that in a million years, but I could picture it.
Temin Snap Wexley.
Ooh.
Homeworld.
Homeworld. Well, he spent a lot of time.
Yeah, I
on
guess his parents split, right? So it's like, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he
This
spent a
is
lot
from
of
the-
time by himself on Jakku, right? Is that where he? Is that where he built Mr. Bones?
It's in the Aftermath books, though. I believe
the
it's
Aftermath,
heavily
right?
featured in the Aftermath books.
It totally is. It absolutely
Yeah.
is. And who thought that guy would just die above Exegol?
Yeah.
Nope.
He got
with his stepfather Wedge watching. It's really dark when you start thinking
really
about it.
dark.
Akiva is his
Kiva, that's
Ooh,
right.
Yeah. Okay. Never in a million years would I remember that.
Amelin Holdo. Amelin Holdo's
Chandrilla, right? Isn't it?
No.
No.
Oh, this is from the Princess of Alderaan novel.
Oh.
and
and-
it's discussed quite a bit
Alright.
in that.
You've been reading a lot of these books for
Yeah.
the role playing game you're developing. So oh man.
Well, it's Chandrilla, Comenor, and then this planet are kind of like those bastions of democracy, right?
Yeah.
So, and the planet she's from is, and you guess,
Onderon.
Oh, Tron. That's a good one.
Gadalenta.
Gadalenta. All right. Never we got that.
Okay. We're dialing it up now. We're dialing.
Wait,
Oh,
now
those
we're
weren't the
dialing
hard
it up?
ones.
Really
Now we're
dialing it up now.
Okay.
Dr. Afra, Homeworld.
Woo! Adam, it's all you, buddy.
Oh no, what? No.
This is very technical. This is like, you would think it could have been the one where she's a child with her mom, but it's.
Yeah,
I can't even name the university she went to, and we just read that like a month ago.
Barleth.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar. And never in a million years.
The second moon of Thrinatic is just said to be her homeworld. She did go to Arbiflux for quite a bit with her mom. Probably accept either answer.
Okay.
Oh wait, was that where the university was at Arbiflux?
No, that's Barleth was the second moon
Barleth,
of Thrinatic was actually where her father went to university.
Yeah. See, I knew both of those, but I didn't name either of those because I wasn't sure which one you were talking about.
Yeah, that was the issue.
That's
All right. We're in hard mode right now, guys. This is General Grievous. General Grievous, his homeworld.
Ooh. Oh man, this is one of those ones where like
I know.
I should know the species actually.
I'll show everyone else. I feel like it's almost there.
Going back to back. It's just
Compton?
Cali. It's just
It is Cali?
Oh, I was literally gonna say
Yeah,
Cali,
it's
but I'm
just-
like, that
it's
can't be
Kali,
right.
I guess. Kalee. And I guess they were called the Kalish, or his species.
So much in Star Wars.
All right, I
Yeah,
think
Kalish
we'll do one final one here. This is just really for all the points. Dexter Jetster, Homeworld.
Oh.
Oh, what are they called? Is it begins with an A?
No.
No, then I got nothing.
Oh man.
What is that species called? I'm trying to work my way backwards.
Yeah, no. You threw all these tough ones at us, and I feel like I should know. I definitely know. What's the species called? They're
Are they
basilisks?
A basilisk, yeah.
Yeah, they're basilisks. So is it basilica?
No.
Basilisk?
I like it.
Bascalock?
like that.
According to Wikipedia, it's Ojum.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
I
basilisk
thought
from
I
Ojum?
thought that would be impossible, so that was the hardest one.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
That is impossible.
I'm
That was
just
fun.
glad I got his
What knows
species name.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that was funny. Actually, just dovetailing into our talk about the Tales of Jedi and the Sith. Did any of you see the name Devilock, which was the Anakin and Obi-Wan story that was on fire?
Yeah. Eyes of the
And
World.
think they were Deveronians? Because I
Yeah,
was like I was imagining them
probably
with
did.
horns and pink skin, but
I probably did.
But Deveron, isn't it?
That's
It's a different-
Deveron.
Yeah. See,
I had
having built a campaign, I've looked at every planet. And,
yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee you I did without thinking of it. Like I didn't even, you know what I mean? Like it just didn't even occur to me that it wasn't the same thing.
I have to say super points for naming your planet Devilock because that's like that's a
pretty
really
metal.
sweet name, and it's a metal name. And yeah, and I was like, it would make sense that like Deveronians were from Devilock at some point. I was like, oh, they have horns and they come from
It's
Devilock.
almost like a pretty sweet,
Yeah.
sort of like new name for Deveron because Devilock is far.
Yeah.
superior.
Yeah, it's a hot name.
Yeah, it's really great.
Grant, thank you very much for bestowing that
That was
Anytime.
fun. That was a good one.
experience on us. Looking forward to next week when Adam comes up with a game.
Oh, I got it planned already.
Yeah. Oh, you do? Oh man.
Yeah.
Here we go. Well, that was super fun.
I'm probably
everyone.
gonna do guess the quote next time because I like that one. I just didn't want to do it a third and
No,
Change
this is great.
nice change
These
it
are no, I appreciate. I also think you did an excellent job of ratcheting up the way you ratcheted up the difficulty.
yeah.
Yeah, I want the
That's
hard
perfect.
ones.
Yeah.
You know, I want the hard
Hard ones
I
are
was like,
fun.
Let's go.
Rose Tico I thought was fun because there is a book. I know
Yeah.
you guys have read these books too, so it's like
Yeah.
Just haven't memorized it. But lately, though, I always highlight the planets when they're like, oh, and so is from this planet and this species. I'm always just like, I want to recall that. You know,
Yeah.
Try and memorize it. So hopefully, I'll get better as we're going forward because it's a fairly recent development. But because it's fun to sort of know places in the galaxy, and it ties, gets the synergy going a little bit. There's probably a bunch here. Like we still never figured out where Doc was from, but
Right.
it's just fun to sort of tie it together. So
Yeah.
yeah. But thanks very much everyone for listening to us this week. Please read this book. It is so fun. You'll love it, even though we sort of walked through a bunch of the highlights. Obviously we're not doing
there's
it justice.
So much more there. Yeah.
It's a great novel and super fun. So do it to it. And next week, are we going to talk about Padawan next week?
Is that what
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
That might be on the old schedule of Rooney. We will definitely have some sort of. I think we're supposed to do Padawan next week, which may or may not happen. But yeah, just there's so many
we can call
novels
it
that
now,
are
just say
out
we're
right
doing it.
now. Yeah, there's so many
Yeah,
novels
we
that
have
are just like churning.
Yeah.
So I guess they got them all out for summer for beach.
Yeah, I
reads.
heard Princess and the Scoundrel is excellent.
Me too.
Yep.
I was
We
just
also
looking at
have
that
the
today.
First run of the Han Solo and Chewbacca comic to cover. So we got
Ooh.
stuff for at least the next 3 weeks, and I think that takes us pretty close to
Andor.
Andor. Yeah.
And they just announced a bunch of stuff for the fall for comics, so we could do
Yeah,
almost
they
Kyber
did.
Crystal.
Yeah, we can just
Catch up with whatever we've got
upcoming
going on.
and
Yeah, so fun. It's so great to have so many Star Wars media flying around the galaxy and to talk about. So thanks again, y'all. We'll talk to you next week. May the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.